Comrade Zingiswa, President of Kosatu, National Office Bearers of Kosatu, members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC present, Comrade Blade Nzimande and the leadership of the SACP present, members of the Kosatu Central Executive Committee, comrades and friends. I bring you warm greetings and a message of solidarity and support from the African National Congress to our ally and Federation of Workers, Cosatu. We have been in the midst of a pandemic that is unlike anything the world has ever seen in more than a century. The pandemic has tested our society, our people, and our alliance and various other organizations. South Africans have responded rather admirably with great strength and fortitude in confronting this pandemic. We commend the people of our country for the bravery and strength they continue to show in dealing with this devastating pandemic. We once again extend our condolences to all those who have lost loved ones during this period. COVID-19 has taken so much from so many of us. Members of the Federation, especially the frontline sectors of health, law enforcement, and other sectors, have served the nation with distinction, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them. The Alliance demonstrated utmost unity at the start of the pandemic, and we worked together to develop a comprehensive response to our social and economic challenges. This unity of the Alliance contributed towards uniting most of society behind the measures that we implemented to combat the pandemic. This is a clear demonstration of the important position we occupy in the lives of South Africans. Our actions have a profound impact on the country and her people. When we are divided and we fight one another in public and are preoccupied with ourselves, the people of our country don't appreciate it. Divisions and internal squabbles detract from our ability to advance the national democratic revolution and serve the people of our country. If we are to truly give effect to the trust the people of our country continue to bestow on us, we must continue with the unity that we displayed right at the onset of the pandemic. And as we continue, we must then implement programs that meaningfully address our people's most pressing challenges. One of the most important issues that we need to attend to as an alliance is to continue addressing various issues that are important to strengthening of the alliance, and I would say particularly outstanding issues between us and amongst us of reconfiguration of the alliance, and of course the implementation of various decisions that we take as an alliance. I know that in this regard there have been stops and starts, and we have not implemented all the decisions that we took. It is important that we continue stressing and working side by side and with each other urging each other forward, and making sure that the decisions that we have taken are implemented. Comrades, defeating the pandemic remains a priority, and we must all ensure that we mobilize as many people as possible to be vaccinated. The Alliance must lead popular vaccination campaigns. And this is the time when we need to be spreading the message more and more during the moment that we interface with our people right across the length and the breadth of the country as we go about campaigning. Ensuring that sufficient numbers of people are vaccinated is the only way of preventing new and more potentially infectious variants from emerging. South Africans must stand together to combat the many conspiracy theories that are out there about vaccines, and we must, as leaders, spread the message that vaccines are safe, that vaccines work, and that vaccines are very effective in preventing severe illness from COVID-19. Workers can be rest assured that we respect the right to bodily integrity and all other constitutional rights. And with regard to vaccinations, this is our stance about respecting the bodily rights of everyone in South Africa. However, this must be balanced against the right to a safe working environment, and it is correct to take measures to ensure the economy can reopen in a safe manner that protects all workers. We urge the Federation to step up efforts to convince, educate, and persuade workers, and indeed all South Africans, about vaccination and that they should be vaccinated. The pandemic, comrades, exacerbated an already fraught economic situation. Poverty is pervasive, and too many people go to bed hungry. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated poverty, and the negative impact it has had on our economy has led to almost 1.4 million people losing their jobs since the start of the pandemic. Unemployment is beyond a crisis level, and it is clear that much more needs to be done to deal with this challenge. Our current strategies are at the moment not sufficient to address the extent of this problem. So we need, therefore, to think out of the box and come up with new strategies. In dealing with the pandemic, the government introduced a number of interventions to deal with the negative impacts of the pandemic. We introduced a stimulus package equal to about 10% of our GDP that enabled workers, the unemployed, households, and businesses to weather the devastating effects of the pandemic. A number of these interventions were embarked upon following proposals from your federation, Kosatu, as well as a number of community-based organizations and businesses. This confirmed the efficacy of our compact between government, labor, community-based organizations, and business in dealing with the crisis that faces our nation. Notwithstanding the laudable initiatives we embarked upon, unemployment persists, poverty is pervasive, and our economy continues to operate at sub-minimal levels. In our consultations, we agreed that this COVID-19 crisis presents us with an opportunity to transform our economy so that It is much more inclusive. We have observed how many countries around the world are re-examining their own economic policy for a post-COVID-19 world. The more developed economies are rethinking traditional conservative, neoliberal economic policies and are gravitating towards encouraging fiscal spending, increased government debt, and increased taxes to deal with the aftermath of this pandemic. This has been accompanied by greater recognition for unions and the rights of workers. Our own economy may not have as much room as the economies of the more developed economic countries for implementing all of the various strategies that they are coming up with. But we must chart our own path in transforming our economy so that it is underpinned by solidarity with the vulnerable and the poor in our country, and that it must be more inclusive. We need to investigate how we can use our economic policy instruments and what changes may be required to address the extent of the challenges confronting us more effectively. The most recent NEC Lekgotla correctly reaffirmed that the most important task of the moment is to reduce poverty and to create jobs. The Alliance Economic Task Team must therefore develop proposals for the reform of economic policy that will lead to the transformation of our economy and also how we can supplement the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, the ERRP, to deepen and accelerate its impact. The NEC Lekgotla identified a number of measures that we are embarking on or should embark on to increase growth and enhance job creation. Continuing to implement structural reforms and promote local productive activity to grow our economy more quickly and stimulate more investment and employment must be proceeded with. The increased role of digital platforms in our economic lives is expected to persist even beyond the pandemic as more and more social and economic and governance and supply chain interactions move to the digital sphere. Enabling universal access to broadband should be the approach to the release of the spectrum and other digital technologies so that the development of the digital economy is inclusive and also substantial and sustainable. Encouraging industrial capacity and increased localization in collaboration with the private sector and organized labor must be the way to go. There continues to be significant demand on government to continue with and expand income support measures for those living in poverty. Further work needs to be done towards the achievement of comprehensive social security to ensure that all South Africans can live in comfort and dignity. This necessarily requires better alignment and linkages between social security policies and labor market policies so that beneficiaries of social support can move more readily into employment. Subject to long-term affordability, serious consideration should be given to extending further support to the unemployed and those who are structurally marginalized, possibly in the form of an extension of the COVID-19 SRD grant, targeted food poverty line support, and a number of other measures. We should also consider a combination of all this with mass employment project. We did see how the stimulus initiative that we embarked upon, where we sought to protect jobs and to create jobs, opportunities during this period, has been hugely beneficial. We were able to draw up to 700,000 people into job opportunities during this period of the pandemic. And we were also able to protect and defend a number of jobs. So this can be done, and in this regard we can do much more, which can help to reduce the level of unemployed people in our country. This is something that we continue to look at so that we can see how effective and efficacious it might be. We're taking steps to reduce the regulatory burden on small business and micro enterprises. This includes ensuring that informal traders are not subject to undue and unfair regulatory requirements. This will unleash the economic energy of our people when all these red tape measures are done away with. Our fiscal constraints mean that we must set clear priorities, focusing on measures which will have the greatest social and economic impact. Transitioning to a low-carbon, ecologically friendly and socially sustainable economy presents opportunities to our country to create jobs, to also have inclusion and growth in a number of sectors such as renewable energy, grid construction, manufacturing of renewable components, battery storage, green vehicles, and green hydrogen, while assisting to further our environmental protection objectives. Infrastructure development, comrades, is the backbone of economic progress. I've often said it is the flywheel that will enable our economy to grow. We must therefore aggressively expand social and economic infrastructure to meet the needs of the economy and the South African people at large. This includes new investments in renewable energy, in mining, water and sanitation, roads and bridges, human settlements, health and education, digital infrastructure, and public transport. To further strengthen the massive rollout of infrastructure, we are increasing community participation in a way that leads to skills development, small-medium enterprise participation, and the employment of affected communities. Our infrastructure investments must anchor the one-plan approach of the district development model and prioritize critical network infrastructure such as rural roads and bridges, water, energy, and digital infrastructure. The involvement of the Federation in the conceptualization and implementation of all these initiatives must happen, as it will be very crucial. The voice of workers must inform our strategies to put the country on a higher growth and employment generating trajectory. We are all in agreement that the needs of our revolution and the ability to bring about a better life for all depends on improving the capacity of the state. The state must be more efficient, developmental, and capable. But the state must also be rid of corruption and malfeasance and a wastage that continues to dog our state. The ANC admits that we've made a number of errors in this area, and we are working to professionalize the public service. We're implementing a whole range of measures to instill a culture of service across all spheres of government, but especially at local government level, where most people have regular and consistent contact with government. The finalization of the work to put in place a single public service will be fast-tracked and is taking place in consultation. The ANC remains committed to protect collective bargaining and all other workers' rights. The notion that the ANC government is trying to weaken the collective bargaining system is not true. Collective bargaining is a hard-won right, which the ANC, which has a bias towards working people, wants to continue ensuring that it is protected and defended at all times. The local government elections we are going to hold in November should be seen as a watershed moment for our democracy and enable us to reposition local government sphere. The candidates who will be elected following these elections will be required to lead clean, efficient, and service delivery-focused local government structures that will be committed to serving the interests of our people. We expect that those who will be chosen to lead our local government, comrades, will be people of integrity and will be people who are capable and qualified to serve our people and to improve service delivery in all the municipalities across the country. We will intensify the utilization of this district development model and integrate all spheres of government to continue defending our communities against this pandemic we are facing and better combat the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide that has become the second pandemic that we are dealing with. The district development model will be leveraged to strengthen capacity of municipalities to provide better basic services and to unlock economic potential of each district to ensure food security, accelerate skills development and align it with the developmental needs of the district, and to support industries and to create jobs. I'm pleased to observe that a number of provinces in our country have taken the district development model to heart, and they are implementing it and drawing various role players in many districts across the country to be part of the developments that we want to see. All of us are agreed that we must work harder to turn local government around so that it can serve our people. On a political level, the ANC has begun to change the way we get people to go and work in local government. We've started a process of carefully selecting and choosing people who will go and serve our people. We've introduced an interview process for mayoral candidates, for instance, in an effort to ensure that we entrust competent and capable cadres with this important responsibility. We are institutionalizing and standardizing this practice, and it will continue following or post the forthcoming local government elections. Those who could be potential mayors are going to be carefully selected. And when we do so, we will be focusing on capability, not popularity, on the ability of people to serve the people of our country, and we will do embark on very careful screening processes. We need to ensure that senior officials, especially municipal managers and chief financial officers, as well as others who may be regarded as technical people, like the city engineer or the town engineer, and a whole lot of others, are suitably qualified and subject to more rigorous qualification criteria in order to be appointed. There must be more consistency in applying discipline and consequence management, both to recognize and to learn from good performance and to correct poor performance. The ANC conducted our recent candidate selection process in accordance with our principles of inclusiveness and representativity. We also, in accordance with the decision of the 54th ANC National Conference, appointed an electoral committee to oversee the process. As with all new processes and structures, there were teething problems, and we also received troubling reports of alleged misconduct, transgressions of list guidelines, and manipulations of lists. The ANC will investigate all these reports and allegations. Where necessary, we will institute disciplinary measures. However, most of our structures across the country ran credible and inclusive processes involving communities across the length and the breadth of the country. The nature of this community involvement took many innovative forms, often dictated by the pandemic restrictions. We have just concluded the final voter registration weekend, and the Independent Electoral Commission reopened candidate registration. And in this regard, the ANC worked hard to ensure that we are able to register candidates in all wards and for all PR lists. And this was also to correct some of the weaknesses we had. We must say now, we welcome the decision of the Constitutional Court handed down today to allow the reopening of candidate registration to enable all South Africans to freely participate in the elections and be able to vote for eligible candidates of their choice and to stand. The election campaign that we are going into will be short, and we will have to embark on a campaign that is targeted, and we must be able to be on the ground mobilizing as many of our people as possible to vote for the ANC and to ensure an ANC victory right across. We must emphasize our successes. The ANC government has succeeded in making this a better country, and we need to back this assertion with objective facts. The movement must, however, be humble and admit where we've made mistakes. In admitting our mistakes, we must provide people with information about the strategies we are implementing to address our mistakes and to bring wrongdoers to book. There will be many questions posed to leaders and candidates and we must be prepared to engage with all questions and challenges, especially from our own members and supporters. It is important for all of us to stay on message and make sure the message of the movement reaches as many people as possible. We must convince the people that the ANC will work towards building a better life for all. This is our task as an alliance, and this is the time when we all of us need to put shoulder to wheel. Of course, there are challenges and differences we continue to have amongst us, but I say when we go to face our people and get them to invest their support in the ANC, we need to go there united, whilst knowing that we've got to continue to engage, to deal with issues, some of which may be difficult. But we've always, from time immemorial, sought to find solutions, and we've always found solutions that have enabled us to get where we are today. And I would say that the alliance between Cosatu and the African National Congress and the South African Communist Party is an alliance that is sealed in history, but also that is underpinned by what we've always done in the trenches of our struggle, but it is also strengthened by our strategic objectives of implementing the National Democratic Revolution. Let us go out, comrades, and ensure a decisive victory for the African National Congress. I've been overjoyed over the past 2 days when I was out campaigning to meet a number of workers within the ranks of our volunteers who are working hard to ensure that there's an ANC victory. I've been heartened by that, and I would say that let us continue doing that. Let's pull out all stops. This is an important election campaign, and if we all put our shoulders to the wheel, we will be able to emerge victorious. Amandla, and thank you very much for having me. And I wish your CEC the very best. Thank you.